Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at Shadow Gengar in the Open Ultra League. This Pokemon is really cool in the current meta because there's so many counter users, so many Fang type Pokemon around that this thing actually has a lot of play. We're going to take a look here at a very interesting team that definitely has a little bit of a weakness against like Fairy type Pokemon in the lead here. We're going to have the elite of the Shadow Poliwrath, we're going to have the Say-Swap of the Giratina with Dragon Breath here. And in the back we're going to have our Gengar to try to sweep endgame. And honestly, I was not really too sure about Gengar in the beginning because I thought like, yeah, this is more like of a meme Pokemon. It has like in theory some play, but it's definitely not going to be good, right? I was so wrong. Like honestly, I still don't really have great IVs for this Gengar. I could actually build one, but I don't really have a lot of starters right now, so I'm going to keep this for later on. But I wanted to try this Pokemon out anyway, and honestly, it was so good. Like this Pokemon was amazing for me, and I guess if you have even better IVs, it's going to be even better for you as well. Here we're going to encounter a Registeel in the back, which is going to be a little bit of a trickier one, but we still have our Shadow Gengar, and so I decided to let this move go through. I don't really care about what they're going to do here. I'm going to be a Zap Cannon, they're going to not be able to get the debuff, which does not really matter either, I would imagine. But we can just go ahead and go for a charge move here. This is going to be the Shadow Sneak, gonna get some damage onto them. And let's see here, we're gonna be able to still go for another Shadow Sneak afterwards, which is going to be amazing, as now I can swap out as well and get into my Gengar. And now they're going to be in farm down range for me, which is amazing for me as well. So Zapcan comes through, they're going to get the debuff, it doesn't matter because I can go for the full farm down here, and we're actually gonna get a triple kill with Gengar in the first game already. And we didn't even need any charge move. Next opponent, we have the worst possible lead that I could imagine. So like, again, you're not seeing like all the positive lead matchups or whatever, but you're going to see most likely a lot of positive matchups as well, because there's one Pokemon right now, which is basically every second lead, which is kind of wild. But yeah, this is going to be the worst possible matchup that you can imagine. It's going to be the Ninetales against us here, which is going to be able to just farm us down. We cannot swap out because we have the Giratina with Dragon Breath in the back. And so I am going to decide to let this next move go through. It's going to be the Weather Ball. That's okay for me. In comes the Tentacruel. I can still go for another charge move here. And I actually decide to stay in here for a little bit and go up to the Shadow Punch, because they're gonna do double resisted damage, so I decide to just stay in there for a little bit. So we were able to get up to a Shadow Punch. Now we're gonna be in the Giratina matchup here. Gonna get a double debuff onto our defense, which is pretty bad, as they can swap back into the Ninetales here, and they double resist our Dragon type damage. But I still decide to go for the bait because I expect them to use a shield here, and I was correct with this assumption, as I can go for another Dragon Claw. Hopefully that's going to be enough to knock them out. It's going to be close, but it is now not enough yet. They're still going to survive with 1 HP, and they can farm me all the way down. My only play is here to go for the Shadow Ball, and we can actually still reach it. With like 1 HP left, going for the big boom, and I can still farm down the opponent's Ninetales. So even against the worst leads, you can still come back. Speaking of the worst leads, we're going to have another one here. So far, 3 really kind of hard losses in the lead, which is kind of awkward. But at least here, we're going to be able to use a shield. They're going to go for the Feather Dance, which is kind of what you could expect. You could go for the no shield there as well if you really feel brave. But if you feel brave, usually the opponent also feels brave and goes for the Brave Bird. But in comes now the Swampert, and this is exactly the matchup that I actually kind of want to be in. So I'm totally down to just be in the Giratina matchup against the Swampert. And I'm also totally down to use another shield here, because it guarantees me basically to shield up an Earthquake, which would do a ton of damage. And I feel like for like shield usage is kind of the way to go. We can still go for another charge move if they want to use a shield here as well, which they do. They're going to still get another Earthquake, which is going to put me kind of deep to the yellow range, I would say. Yeah, just deep yellow range there. I can go for the full farm down, and I would be able to even reach another charge move here against the opponent's Pidgeot. And it's amazing that they swap into the Pidgeot, because, yeah, this matchup is not really great for us. They're going to have the Annihilape in the back, and with this, we can go into our Gengar, and we can see already we can outspeed the opponent. We have the Shadow Claw damage, which is double, like not double, but like single super effective, but we already got them basically into half health with this Pokemon, which is kind of wild. Shadow Ball is going to knock us out, but we put them perfectly into range for just one score. We have to reach this in time, and we do reach this one in time, which is amazing, as this should get the knockout against the opponent, and it does, and we can win this game with our Poliwrath. Again, like we are not getting like, okay, here we're gonna get actually a positive lead, but a lot of times we don't really get the positive leads. Here we're gonna get the Annihilape against us. I'm not too sure about how much damage a Shadow Punch does, so I decided to not go for one immediately here, which at the end of the day, it does not really matter, because this is the cool thing about Gengar. Unless they're going to have like a normal type in the back lurking, which you kind of want to bait out with your Giratina, that's basically why I used Giratina as a safe swap, you're always gonna get back that shield. Like no matter what, nothing can take a Shadow Ball stab here plus Shadow bonus from a Gengar, like literally nothing. And I can even reach another move here. I kind of want to bait for a potential another Shadow Ball here, but the opponent is not going to fall for it. But still, like Gengar put in so much work, killed one Pokemon, got the other one insanely low, and now it's going to be down to, yeah, basically my Poliwrath getting some debuffs most likely against the opponent's Skeletorch, and I can actually, yeah, the opponent actually gets a free fast move because it was like a little bit bugged, I think, in terms of like how the animation looked, but it doesn't really matter because I can just swap out, catch a Disarming Voice. I know both moves going to be super effective against me, Disarming Voice plus Shadow Ball, but still, I kind of want to keep my Poliwrath around for the other matchup, so I'm going to be able to just stay in here. They're gonna go for the Shadow Ball, totally fine for me. I can still reach a Shadow Sneak, going to be super effective damage coming up against the opponent here, and that's gonna put them low, but not low enough that we can knock them out yet. They're gonna swap out here because I wanted to keep the energy. It does not really help them because we can go for a Dragon Claw. This is going to get the knockout, and we can just Dragon Breath them down to win this one. Next opponent, and this is the lead that I encountered like so often. Like honestly, I think I had like 3 times in a row the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, which is just absolutely wild. Like one of the most common Pokemon apparently. But we're going to have here the Blastburn Charizard coming in, which is a little bit annoying. You kind of have to keep your lead around though, so I'm gonna go for the Scald, gonna get hopefully the debuff. I do get the debuff, which makes the next matchup way easier, but it's still going to look a little bit dicey here because they're gonna get to at least 2 Dragon Claws here, which is going to be annoying because a Dragon Claw on my end would not knock them out from this range. I think it just barely survives, and so I'm going to overfarm by a little bit here as well, as I can go for another Dragon Claw afterwards, but now they can still go into their Sandslash, farm me all the way down, and I'm going to be in a little bit of a tough spot because my fast move is resisted. I can still go for the Shadow Sneak, which is going to be neutral, but as we gonna see here, we can get some damage onto them. I tried to swap out here to get some damage onto them as well, but then I decided I'm just going to store up one move, but I can get 2 counters in, which is really important here, as we're gonna get the opponent saying they're going to have a Jellicent in the back. And this game was super annoying because what you're going to see next, I think at least, is going to be not what's supposed to happen, but let me check real quick on the side as well. You're going to see here that, yeah, I try to go for the Dragon Claw here and I don't get this off. I want to see who actually wins CMP here because I'm not too sure, but I'm fairly certain that Giratina should win CMP. But let me see real quick if I'm wrong or if I was right here. Jellicent, Giratina, never mind, Jellicent always wins CMP, so I was wrong here, so everything was totally okay. At this point I was like a little bit frustrated because my charge move didn't show up, but I guess it did not really matter, so we're going to lose this game. If we got the Dragon Claw up, we would have been fine, but it is what it is. Next opponent coming in here, we're going to have again the lead of the Alolan Sandslash, which is going to be amazing. They're swapping out into the Giratina, which allows me to go for the Icy Wind. And it seems like it might be even a CMP tie, which I'm totally okay with. They're going to have to take this move now, and this is exactly how you kind of want to play it, no matter what kind of variant of Giratina comes in, because this allows you to get the drop. He actually decided to go into the Gengar, which definitely is something that you can do as well, because one Shadow Punch is going to knock them out, but you could also decide to go into your own Giratina. But yeah, Shadow Punch is going to knock them out, and the cool thing here as well is I will be able to get a shield back even from the opponent, because I should be able to reach another Shadow Ball in time. As they're gonna go for the full farm down, I can at least reach a Shadow Ball, and if it connects, it would one-shot them, but it doesn't, and so we still got the opponent low. I can still align my fighter against the opponent's Sandslash, and they're gonna get my shield back most likely here, as I'm going to shield up the potential Drill Run, but I have like one fast move advantage now for whatever wants to come in. It's going to be a Tentacruel, and so I decided to go straight for the Icy Wind, which is going to make the matchup for our Giratina way easier. So we're gonna swap out now. The opponent is going to be in a position where a Blizzard definitely does not put me into Scald range anymore, which is kind of nice. I'm just going to let those moves go through, and Blizzard just barely going to 2-shot me, and at this time I will still get to 2 Dragon Claws before they can do anything, and even if they would use a shield, which they're most likely not going to do, we should be very decent here, because we're gonna be able to go for another Dragon Claw. The time is also coming up nearly here as well, so like even if they're gonna swap into the Sandslash, which they're going to do here, I can just go for another Dragon Claw, and now I can swap out into my Poliwrath. I do a ton of damage against them as well, and as you're gonna see here now, the counter is coming through and the opponent is gonna go down. Next opponent, another Shadow Alone Sandslash. As said before, like I had this lead like so many times. In comes the Cresselia. This matchup can be a little bit more tricky, I would say, but I just go straight for the Shadow Ball just in case the opponent does want to let this move go through. I will definitely take this, but they decide to use a shield here, which I'm totally okay with as well. Because we do so much damage with the Shadow plus Stab plus super effective Shadow Claw here, we're going to be able to just use another shield, and I can overfarm by quite a bit. And now they should be in Shadow Punch range, and even if they're going to, no shield here or whatever, I'm still gonna get my shield back, unless they're going to have a normal type in the back, because I still can go for a Shadow Ball against whatever wants to come back in here. That's going to be the Alone Sandslash. Shadow Ball is coming through now. It's most likely going to do a ton of damage if they go unshielded, but they decide to use a shield here. And so they're going to be shields down, I'm going to be shields down, but they're going to have the Giratina in the back, which allows us to just go for the Ice Wind afterwards. I'm going to stay in here for a little bit, but with the Ice Wind, basically the matchup is going to be amazing for our own Giratina, and so we can swap into that Pokemon now. Yes, they're gonna be able to still go for one Dragon Claw against me, but I could even decide to go for the full Farm Run if I want to, which might be the play to go here as well. I might just let them go for another charge move exactly, because it's going to allow us to go for 2 Shadow Sneaks against them, and this should be very good for us in terms of getting rid of the Switch Clock. As you can see here, basically 2 more Shadow Sneaks going to be enough to allow me to swap out again into my Poliwrath, which is going to be nice, and that's exactly what I'm going to try to do here. I can still easily survive a Drill Run with my Poliwrath, and I just need to get them a little bit lower, and now I can swap out, get a 1 counter in, the opponent can go for 1 charge move here, it's going to be the Drill Run, it's not going to knock me out, I can get another counter in, but they can still go for another charge move, but we still have our Giratina, and so this is going to be a good game as we can farm them down with Dragon Breath. Next opponent here, let's see what they're going to run. They're going to have a great lead for us. It's going to be the LilyNiRiain Stunfisk, and they're going to swap out into the Giratina now. So, we can let the next move go through. It's going to be the Dragon Claw from the opponent as we can reach another Icy Wind, and of course, afterwards we can swap out into our own Giratina, which is going to be now a great matchup for us as we're gonna be able to realign no matter what they want to do, because they barely do any damage anymore. I still get more damage with my Dragon Breath against them, and I can just go for a Dragon Claw as well, because I know it's still going to be a tough matchup actually for the LilyNiRiain Stunfisk now if they want to come back in. Even though we have Dragon Breath, they still have to go for basically 1 Rock Slide and 1 Earthquake, and I can still chunk away from their health. And this is like the cool thing about having 1-turn fast moves. I really hope that Sand Attack, which is like a move that got found in the code and most likely going to be available for the upcoming season, is going to be a 1-turn fast move. That would be amazing in my opinion. But yeah, 1-turn fast moves are like so strong in the current meta. As you're gonna see here, I can go for another Shadow Sneak, going to be able to do some decent damage, and they swap out into a Togekiss. And yeah, we have Gengar for this. Gengar is going to be able to resist the charm, but it's still going to chunk quite a bit because we are so glassy. But it does not really matter, because if we're going to time it correctly, we still should be able to reach another Shadow Punch after this one, which we're going to hopefully be able to do. And yes, we are going to be able to do. And so Gengar was able to get 2 shields here and the knockout against the opponent's Togekiss, winning us this game as they decide to forfeit. Next opponent, we're going to have another Shadow Dragonite, most likely the most common lead currently, like together with the Alone Sandslash. And honestly, Poliwrath is kind of decent against both of them, like not as great against the Dragonite to be fair, because yeah, they're still going to win this matchup in the 2-shield scenario if they want to play it out. But at least we have Icy Wind, we can kind of force them to use a shield here. We're gonna see them actually go for a charge move, and because they're debuffed, I'm just going to let this move go through. I'm totally okay with that, and I keep my shield basically for the Gengar later on. But what they have in the back is something that I did not expect. It's going to be a Whiscash here. XL Whiscash in the Ultra League gets to nearly 2400 CP, but we can still reach another charge move here against the opponent. Dragon Claw is coming through, going to get them into the red health nearly already, which is going to be amazing, as they're forced to still go for 2 Mud Bombs because we're way too bulky for them. Sadly, they're winning the CMP die here, which is really sad for us, because if we won this, we would have been in such a great spot. But we're gonna see here that I can go back into my Poliwrath and just go for the counter down. This should be kind of fine for us. Hopefully they don't get to another Mud Bomb afterwards. But they don't. They swap out into their own Dragonite, and they don't even get to another charge move. So we have to hope there's something in the back that we can beat with our Gengar, but it's going to be the opponent's Swampert. Let's see if we can still do something here. It's going to be very close. Let's see, can we still reach the Shadow Ball? We cannot. It's 1 fast move away, and so we can only reach this Shadow Punch. Gonna get them still really low, but we are not there yet as a charge move, and so the opponent can still reach another Hydro Cannon afterwards. Losing the CMP tie here also kind of hurts. A very close game, very good game to the opponent. We can move on to the final one for today. Final one, we're going to have another Alolan Sandslash in the lead. Again, like this Pokemon is so common, but then comes a Pokemon that I don't really want to face, which is going to be the Manabus. I can though go ahead and go for an Icy Wind first here, which is going to get the debuff onto the opponent. Being super effective is kinda nice. And what we can try to do now is I can go for 4 Force moves and then try to catch the Aerial Ace. They then 1 over, but it's the better way of throwing the move for the opponent. And so I catch the Aerial Ace onto my Giratina, which of course would be a little bit more tricky for like something like Dark Pulse. But because also we are in a matchup that, yeah, I'm still kind of okay with staying in here. I'm just going to try to go for the full farm down. Sadly, this can still go for another Dark Pulse, which is gonna put us into farm down range for the opponent, which might be a little bit tricky for like the Alolan Sandslash. But we're not going to give them too much farm here, which I guess is a little bit better even for us, as we can go for 2 Shadow Sneaks. They might get up to a drill run, but that's basically it for them. And this is going to be okay for us, because we're going to get so much damage onto the opponent here. We're going to be in a fairly decent spot. They might get the shield now, though, from me. But no, they decided to swap out into the Gliscor. But this game is still not over. This game's still going to be a little bit tricky. I'm forced to swap out now into my Gengar and hope that I can win this game with this Pokemon, but it's going to be a very close one. I let this move go through. It's going to be a super effective Night Slash, but thanks to the debuff, we can still take one of them. I'm going to use a shield now on the next one, but it is kinda time to bait here, because if I don't bait, it's going to be way too difficult to win this game. I go for the Shadow Punch here. Let's see if the opponent going to fall for it. They do, and with this, we can still reach the Shadow Ball, knocking them out, and now it's only the Alolan Sandslash against our Poliwrath, and with this, it's going to be a good game. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, check out the video on the screen, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.